4 drop guides about how to be drive impact, drive rush, drive parry, all the other, system mechanics. We need to talk controls first because there's an elephant in the room, an elephant that is plaguing a lot of Discord server chats and, Twitter posts and replies and all that jazz. Modern controls versus classic controls. Which one is better? Naturally, there's a lot of discussion around this topic. Should newer players, start on modern, or should, veterans switch from classic to modern? And overall, what's just the better long-term investment? Before we start drawing conclusions, as always, we're going to start with the facts. And if that's your approach to fighting games or, just life in general, you definitely need to subscribe because we're going to have a whole lot of facts you're going to need along your fighting game journey. But let's just get into the game and start with the pros of modern controls. All right, so now we're inside the game. Let's start talking about the pros of modern controls. Obviously, the talk of the town, the big trademark of modern controls is now you get one button specials, and that's pretty good. But we can actually take this a step further because, we can go inside our control settings, go inside edit control mapping, and set up this macro here, heavy plus special move. And now we also get one button supers, which is pretty darn good. So right out of the gate, we're able to start solving a lot of problems that we're going to come across in neutral, right? One of the most famous being, hey, what do I do when someone jumps at me, right? And now instead of me, telling you, all right, so here's what you got to do. This is you on classic controls, by the way. I'm like, all right, here's what you got to do. You got to do crouch heavy punch. That's your normal. That's going to be your best normal to knock someone out of the sky. But, in order to use that, there's a proper timing and spacing. We don't have to do that conversation. We just go straight to the point. I'm like, hey, bro, forward and special. And you got it. You got it. Right. And, there's going to be all kinds of other problems you're going to solve. Like, what do I do against fireballs? What do I do if they drive impact, right? And another beauty of this control scheme, since everything's on a button, you don't lose anything. You still get access to your drive impact macro and your drive parry macro, and that's really neat. So now all of a sudden, a lot of these problems you're going to solve right out of the gate on both neutral and defense, you're going to be able to solve them really easily because it's all with the press of a button, right? And it gets even better because naturally, you're going to experiment during your matches with your homies, and you're going to be like, hey, how do I get in there? And, you're going to run through a lot of your kit, like for Lily here, and you're going to be like, hey, this is a really good gap closer, right? And, God forbid we use that assist button, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, that goes through projectiles. That's pretty cool. So, again, with just a few button presses, we're able to start creating a general game plan because we actually understand our special moves, right? We're not just stuck on the mechanical part of our special moves. We're actually getting to the comprehensive level and, the applicative level, which is really nice. And so it doesn't just help with neutral and defense, it also helps with offense. So now you're pretty much playing every part of the game right out of the gate. It really does make for the ultimate control scheme. So what are the cons though? It does have a couple of downsides. Okay, so the first con we definitely need to talk about is you do lose access by default to some key normals on your character per button strength. What that means is normally on classic controls is we get standing light punch, crouching light punch, standing light kick, crouching light kick, right? But since we only have the light button, they have to kind of pick and choose from there. We still get a standing light option and a crouching light option, those being Lily's standing light kick and her crouching light punch. And this is the case for the rest of her buttons. And on some characters, you actually lose a number of unique attacks as well. Obviously, you can go check the command list for which one you lose per character. However, what I would like to say is that out of the normals that they allow you to choose from by default, you actually get some of the best options. So I've been coaching people on Lily on both modern and classic controls, and I cannot imagine a world where you're going to be able to run her game plan, especially considering her, rather slow walk speed, without her these key normals: standing heavy punch, or heavy, and crouch heavy, right? Crouching heavy punch, and this unique attack here, back heavy punch, right? These are extremely important normals on her, and I could not imagine you running her game plan without it. So I'm confident, since they designed the characters, they applied this same reasoning or logic to their kits as well, and you're going to get all the normals I'm pretty confident you're going to need. But it actually gets a little bit better. If you hold the assist button down and then press light, medium, or heavy, you actually get access sometimes to an additional normal. And that's really neat because, again, with just a little bit more more work, you get to unlock another portion of your character's kit, and you're going to see that trend continue as we go across here. So now she gets access to her crouching light kick, Now she gets access to a crouching medium kick, right? That's really, really neat. Those are tools that she's gonna need, but you only have to do that once you're comfortable with the base kit. Once you're comfortable with this, and this, you can start to expand. All while, if you're not comfortable in a certain spot, to press the assist button and light, you can just not do that, right? And you're still gonna be good because they made a great selection here. So what do you actually lose? Why is modern controls actually bad at all? Why wouldn't I just stick with modern controls? Capcom asked themselves the exact same thing. All right, so in order to show you guys this next con on modern controls, we're gonna have to press start, turn on attack data, and let's take a look at the damage chart. So there's a 20% damage nerf across the board if you use the special button. So here's my Tomahawk Buster, right? The tried and true does 960 damage, right? Now let me input the classic motion for this move, and now we get 1,000 damage, right? Not that big a deal, but considering, with the press of a button, you're on the same level as someone who's been practicing, for quite some time just to get the special motion consistently. I think it's a fair trade. Now where you really lose out though is you do lose a version or versions of your special moves. So let's get into that. So normally you have 4 different versions of your special moves. You have the light version, the medium version, the heavy version, and the EX version. On modern controls, you get the EX version, right? You just press assist and the direction and the SP button, but you do lose the light, medium, or heavy versions. You lose the ability to select. They just kind of, with the normals, they just kind of choose which one they think is the most practical, and that's what you stick with. That's the big L there, because you can't, the light version of a move may be a little bit more useful in a certain situation than like the medium or the heavy version of the move. You have to really make that selection. A lot of the time on classic controls, you kind of lose that ability, so your character is hindered in a way. They become a lot more linear, you could argue. It kind of fluctuates character to character, but this is a hard con. But if you notice what I did earlier with Tomahawk Buster, you're like, hey Kai, you were still on modern controls when you did 1,000 damage. What's going on there, right? So if you so choose, if you want to input the special motion along with light, medium, or heavy, you actually get access still to the classic version or the full version of the special move. So let's say you're like, man, DP motions are hard, but I sure as hell can do quarter circles. I've had to do those before, right? I've had to do those before. Maybe, Mortal Kombat player, or I don't know, some RPG that required you to do quarter circle motions, even though, they probably didn't present it that way, right? Now all of a sudden you can start to integrate just a few more of Lily's moves into your game plan, right? So you're like, today when I play, I'm gonna do at least one version of Tomahawk Buster where I actually use the classic motion, and after that you can stop, and the next day you can set that goal again, maybe shoot for 2, right? Again, what they manage to master with the modern controls is like, hey, you can leave that comfort zone if you want more control, if you want more value per move that you're doing. And of course this also extends to the supers too. So let me go, down, forward. I think hers is down, forward, light. Yeah. And now instead of doing like not so much damage on my super, now I get full damage on that super. So I know some people are gonna be like, yo, what are you talking about? It always did that much damage. Well, when you're on modern, when you do it the modern way, it does not, right? So again, we can kind of expand outward as we so choose. Just like with the normals, where like, you get your base, and then when you're ready to hold that assist button and start experimenting with the other normals, there you go. So, right? So as you get more mechanically comfortable, you can start to grow, right? And it incentivizes you by giving you, your full damage. So I really, really like this, because once you add the fact that you can use more of your normals with the assist button, and you can integrate special motions, you really unlock about 90% of your character's kit. And so Capcom has managed to maintain this really nice, delicate balance of ease of use and full control of your character, while incentivizing you to push beyond your mechanical, boundaries. This is really, really cool. And you can always be like, damn, I'm really not feeling it today. I don't think I warmed up enough. You can just go right back to one button specials, right? You still get to run your game plan. You still get to play the game. You still get to strategize. You still get to counter strategize. All that stuff is all available, right? So that brings us back to the elephant in the room. Which is better, classic or modern controls? So if I had to do it all over again, just start completely from scratch with what I know about high level play that I know now, and of course $1 million being on the line, I would most definitely do modern controls, full stop. I think modern controls give you a more stable neutral. I think there are some advantages on defense as well, and I think those are the things that stand the test of time. I think a lot of professionals, we see them do the big combos or whatever, but I think one thing that you're just very, very hard to see is how well developed their neutral is, and how good they are at defense. And modern controls give you the ability just to respond to way more things. And I think, that's just going to stand the test of time above all else. So if I had to, choose, I would choose modern. However, I do have years, maybe even a decade's amount of just muscle memory on classic controls, and just transitioning would take way too long. So I'm just going to stick it out with classic controls. Either way, the way I see it, most modern players are just going to become classic players anyway. They may not change their control scheme, but again, like I said, they're going to be integrating so many special motions. They're basically a classic control player. And classic control players, obviously with years of practice, and you getting access to your full kit from the beginning, you're going to be on the same playing field as someone on modern controls. It's more about just bringing newer players to the level of a classic control player, at least mechanically. And I definitely think they've achieved that. And I would make an argument for, I think, like, if you started from modern and you just stuck with it long enough and you really optimize your strategy around it, I think you would unlock something I would call like classic plus, where it'd be very good. I don't want to get into that though. So in conclusion, Capcom has managed to do what a lot of developers have been trying to do for the last 10 years, in that just being able to unlock the fun for everybody. And because it takes two to tango, and the more people that come on board fighting games and stay on fighting games, that's a dub for everybody. If you're watching this video, chances are you want a few new dance partners yourself, and when we have a growing Discord of people who are willing to learn the steps with you. So be sure to like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you don't know what Alpha League is, you definitely need to check it out. There should be something appearing on screen there. If you want to be a part of something great, click on that video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like the video, stop the spread of misinformation, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.